Imagine the night sky over Crimea erupting in a symphony of explosions and shadows, as Ukrainian drones pierced the darkness like unseen phantoms. What if I told you that one strike crippled an entire peninsula, leaving its invaders scrambling in the gloom? Could their mighty defenses really be that flawed? A few minutes after midnight on October 13, a massive drone assault hit Crimea's fuel and power hubs, disrupting the peninsula's very heartbeat. The onslaught not only ravaged depot facilities but shattered the daily rhythm of life, flooding homes and streets with eerie blackness. Fuel reserves and electrical grids became prime targets, casting the region into a cold, unyielding void. Feel the bite of fear as sirens wail and the acrid smell of burning diesel clings to the air like a toxic shroud. In this chaos, unmanned aerial systems linked to Ukraine's security service and special forces pummeled Feodosia's oil terminal. Ground reports confirmed hits on at least 5 enormous tanks, sending shockwaves of fire rippling through the night. Additional blasts rocked the 220 kV Kaffa substation and the 330 kV Simferopol facility, both vital to Russia's so-called energy bridge constructed since 2015. Why do their claims of unstoppable barriers crumble before such precise fury? Blazes raged uncontrolled near Feodosia for hours, their roar echoing like distant thunder, verified by social media clips from countless vantage points on the peninsula. The next morning revealed stark images, scorched earth dotted with foam remnants around devastated tank fields. How does one explain the gap between boasts of interception and this brutal reality? Ukrainian sources from security service spokespersons emphasized ongoing efforts to dismantle Russia's war machine, logistics, and economy. They vowed persistence, leveraging advanced tech for strikes in occupied zones and deep into Russian territory. Amid Russian boasts of shooting down dozens of unmanned aerial vehicles that night, clear evidence proved some breaches through defenses. This marked a repeat assault on the same site within days, jarring Crimea's fragile pulse. What hidden weakness allows such relentless intrusion? Sensory overload hits, the sting of smoke in your eyes, the rumble of engines faltering, the chill of uncertain power cuts. Feodosia's fuel depot transcends mere flames, it's a hub shifting supplies from rail to sea and land routes across the peninsula. Managing vast storage up to 250,000 tons, it balances transport flows, 250 kilometers from Ukrainian lines, a topic debated since 2022. Knocking out multiple tanks here isn't just about lost volume, safety mandates create cooling burdens in nearby areas, halting operations amid foams, waters, and chemicals that delay work for days. Fuel schedules slip, replanning ensues, road tankers queue longer. Rhetoric builds, can defenders even protect their lifeline, or is this humiliation yet another twist in their saga? The gritty texture of foam-soaked ground, the distant scent of charred metal, the tension of waiting lines. Electricity faced turmoil too, with hits to substations causing voltage sways in the mainland-linked backbone. Power transformers, switchgear, and control rooms suffered damage, triggering automated protections and drops during peak demands. Grid stability wavered, reliant on external balances. Repair crews arrived, but replacing heavy transformers takes months of intricate logistics from factories to sites. Temporary fixes raised outage and fluctuation risks, visible in flickering lights and dark houses. Why chase airborne threats when vulnerabilities multiply below? The taste of frustration lingers, bitter as a power surge zapping appliances unexpectedly. Russian Defense Ministry reported over 100 UAV interceptions nationwide that night, 40 above Crimea, with local head Sergei Aksionov claiming 20-plus downings, no casualties acknowledged. Yet, social media and local feeds captured fiery domes from afar, exposing penetrations. This echoed a prior strike on October 6, highlighting persistent air defense flaws? Questions mount. Where are the S-300 and S-400 systems if they're impenetrable? No shield halts multi-wave low-signature attacks or disruptions to radar nets. Russia's admissions amplified visible hits, while Ukraine signaled multiplying gaps in defenses. In Crimea, fuel tensions escalated, stations faced delays, rationing emerged, plans revamped. Jerry cans resurfaced, generators hummed at factories. Traffic jammed north and east post-fire, drivers fleeing perceived dangers. Official reassurances battled rising panic, with no fuel tomorrow dread spreading. Months-old warnings of a 2025 winter crisis, tied to peninsula fragility amid Russia's 13 inactive refineries. have materialized. Price hikes loom, echoing a 21% drop in processing capacity as per Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky on October 10, worsened by shortages and import hikes in Russian areas. Mid-September analyses predicted production cuts if assaults persist. Late August reports linked fires to war economy strains. This isn't isolated. Crimea shutdown strains nationwide petro chains. Geographic isolation magnifies losses. Every bridge hitch isolates further. Concurrent Russian airstrikes set Odessa's civilian warehouses ablaze, injuring one, over 5,000 square meters ruined, fabrics burning amid supply lines chaos. Ukraine's Ukrenergo enforced emergency cuts in 7 eastern regions for industry. This dual energy war sees Kyiv endured airstrikes while targeting Crimean hubs, urging global aid. EU's Kaja Kallas visited Kyiv on October 13, discussing military and energy security, noting airspace violation risks. These disruptions cripple military operations, limiting motorized patrols and trainings from Balaklava to Dzhankoy. So, as shadows lengthen, who truly holds the upper hand in this twisted dance of smoke and silence? The final twist reveals a web of interconnected anxieties, where one night's terror ripples into tomorrow's uncertainties. What unexpected fallout awaits the invaders in their claim of unassailable might? Recapping last time, Ukraine struck the Feodosia oil facility again within a week, jarring the pulse of daily life in Crimea. The fire's significance stretches way beyond those roaring flames. It's a vital hub shuttling fuel from trains to ships and out to local roads. Have you ever felt the sting of a blackout that shuts down your world, leaving you fumbling in the dark with an empty gas tank? Picture this, a remote depot, just 250 kilometers from Ukrainian lines, hoarding up to 250,000 tons of fuel, and now it's burning, a logistical nightmare that's been looming since 2022. Why do these tanks matter so much? Their shutdown spreads like ripples, beyond the inferno alone. Safety rules kick in, forcing crews to cool nearby sections, the sticky foam clinging like a suffocating blanket, the acrid scent of chemicals lingering for days. Foam, water, and those harsh agents slow operations to a crawl, hours turning into endless waits. Fuel transfers slip back, plans scrapped and rewritten in a frenzy. Road tankers line up, engines idling, drivers cursing the delay, the uncertainty humming at every hose nozzle across the peninsula. What if Russia's mighty defenses can't stop this creeping crisis? The electricity strikes add another layer of dread. The 220 kV Kaffa node and 330 kV Simferopol station pulse with faults in Crimea's grid, that vital lifeline to the mainland. Transformers crumple, switchgear sparks, imagine the electric crackle, the faint ozone smell as circuits activate wildly, voltage plummeting. Load shedding ramps up, grids flickering in the night, especially under heavy loads. This energy bridge leans on distant sources, supply and demand teetering. Tech crews cluster, but swapping big equipment drags on for months, factory to finals, a marathon of metal and wiring. Quick fixes wire around the mess, but they bring their own hazards, more outages, consumers feeling the buzz of unsteady power. Complaints echo, dim lights heralding the dark evenings. Is this the crack in Russia's armor widening, exposing their overreach? Hold on, as Crimea's lifeline phrase, what hidden vulnerabilities might surface next in this war of shadows? As darkness enveloped Crimea, shadows of uncertainty lingered. The previous chaos unfolded as multiple power outages blurred the line between security and vulnerability. The night of October 13 painted a vivid picture of chaos, with drone attacks targeting strategic locations. It raised urgent questions: could the defenses, including the S-400 and S-500, actually hold? Rumors swirled as the Russian Ministry of Defense asserted that over 100 unmanned aerial vehicles were intercepted, yet the flames soaring into the sky told a different story. Flames fueled by chaos lit up the horizon, visible for miles, as the Kremlin's official narratives began to crack. Sergei Aksionov, a Kremlin appointee in Crimea, stated that more than 20 drones had been downed. However, the videos circulating on social media painted a startling contrast to the official reports. While a portion may have been shot down, the reality was stark: many successfully reached their targets. This strike marked a troubling trend. The same terminal in Feodosia had been targeted just a week prior. Clearly, the chinks in Russian air defenses were becoming increasingly apparent, raising the disquieting question: why couldn't they prevent these aerial assaults? In every dimly lit alley and crowded street, whispers grew louder. Where were the advanced S-400s? Where are the promised S-500s? As the winds shifted, so did the public sentiment. A collective anxiety surged with each new flight over the midnight sky. The reality stood clear: no aerial defense system, including those touted as advanced, could fully withstand the onslaught of intricate saturation attacks. The night's chaos impacted not only military strategies but also the very fabric of daily life in Crimea. Reports of malfunctions in power circuits ensued, flushing the grid with instability, and complaints about power outages echoed through the streets. The disconnection between Russia's defense claims and the fiery aftermath was palpable. A surge of logistical challenges ensued. Locating fuel became a daunting task, long queues emerged at gas stations, and limited supply options frustrated the local populace. Panic was rising, but official statements aimed to quench the flames of fear. Yet every fresh concern turned into a rumor that would not die. Would tomorrow bring more darkness? As wave after wave of drones targeted the heart of Crimea's infrastructure, it became clear that the crisis was not only real but escalating. With each strike, the shadows grew deeper, and so too did the uncertainty of what the dawn would bring. The message to the leadership in Moscow was unmistakable. You may have a shield, but your vulnerabilities are multiplying. Just how much longer could this precarious situation be sustained before it finally tipped into chaos? On the night of October 13, a dramatic chapter unfolded in the ongoing conflict, as Ukraine launched one of its most significant coordinated strikes against Crimea. As the clock struck midnight, a barrage of drones swept across the peninsula, targeting vital fuel and power infrastructures. The attack was not just a singular incident, it struck at the very heart of Crimea's daily operations, disrupting the flow of essential resources. In mere moments, the landscape changed from calm to chaos. As fire erupted at key facilities, including the oil terminal near Feodosia, the blaze illuminated the night sky, a fiery beacon of Ukrainian resolve. Eyewitness reports affirmed that at least 5 towering oil tanks were engulfed in flames. The explosions echoed like thunder, marking a turning point in the ongoing war. Simultaneously, significant damage was inflicted upon 2 major transformer stations, Kaffa and Simferopol, a blow to the so-called energy bridge that has been critical since 2015. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning oil. Images shared online showed scenes of devastation, charred earth where crucial resources once stood. The damage was palpable, both physically and emotionally, underscoring the conflict's dire consequences for local civilians. An anonymous source from the Ukrainian Security Service expressed a clear and powerful sentiment: the nation is systematically dismantling Russia's capacity to wage war. The message was unambiguous: we will continue this fight. And these victories will ripple through enemy lines. Despite claims from Russian officials that they downed over 100 drones, the visible destruction told a different story. What happened that fateful night was not mere chance, it was a calculated response to perceived vulnerabilities. As morning light broke, it became evident the repercussions of this assault would be far-reaching. The crucial oil terminal, which played a vital role in the transportation and storage of fuel, capable of holding up to 250,000 tons, faces severe operational constraints. Imagine the tension in the air as truck drivers encircled the peninsula's fuel stations, forced to wait for hours while the battlefield raged on. An ominous sense of uncertainty hung over Crimea, as businesses struggled to adapt and individuals faced a bleak future without fuel. The practical implications of the strikes were profound. Waiting times at fuel stations ballooned as panic set in, while some businesses resorted to rationing sales. The familiar sight of spare jerry cans returned as citizens prepared for a potential crisis. The roadways became congested as drivers hastily sought safety, looking for reprieve from the chaos around them. Media reports warned of possible fuel shortages as far away as winter 2025. Analysts had foreseen this fragility. The strain on Crimea's storage and supply systems left it vulnerable. As reality unfolded, the warnings proved prescient. The tightening grip on fuel and energy resources resonated beyond the peninsula, casting a shadow across the entire Russian domestic fuel infrastructure. The commander-in-chief of Ukrainian forces provided insights that the oil processing capacity for Russia had plummeted by 21% due to cascading effects from Ukraine's operations. This statistic was more than a number, it was a narrative shift. Fuel shortages threatened Russian regions, choking supply lines and destabilizing their military capabilities. As the smoke from Fyodosha's flames rose, so too did the strategic implication for Ukraine. The world was watching. How many more assaults could their enemy endure? Each strike highlighted the pervasive weaknesses within Russian defenses. Could they maintain dominance with their air defenses when faced with relentless and varied assault strategies? With every darkened street and every overcrowded gas station, the narrative of this conflict continued to evolve, endings unknown, but the stakes more critical than ever. In the midst of October's chill, a seismic event unfolded on the night of the 13th, as Ukraine unleashed a strike upon Crimea that would echo in both fear and resilience. Just past midnight, a fleet of drones surged toward vital infrastructure, targeting fuel and power facilities across the peninsula. This was more than a mere tactical maneuver, it was a calculated strike aimed at crippling an adversary's daily lifeblood. Darkness enveloped Crimea as both fuel and power grids were disrupted, leaving a stark void in the once buzzing energy of the region. The drones, operated by elements linked to Ukraine's military forces, struck the pivotal oil terminal near Fyodosha, igniting flames that licked the night sky. Accounts describe the sight of 5 massive tanks ablaze, smoke curling into the air, witnessed from miles away. Explosions rocked the Kaffa and Simferopol transformer stations, crucial nodes labeled as part of the energy bridge. The aftermath revealed a grim tableau: scorched earth, remnants of tanks, and the unmistakable scent of charred fuel permeating the air. An insider within Ukraine's intelligence revealed this operation aimed to systematically erode Russia's military and logistical foundations. The capabilities of Ukraine allowed them to reach deep into occupied territories, and their resolve was unwavering, they claimed. Despite Russian assertions of downing numerous drones, the visible devastation told a different story, pointing to a breach in their defenses. This was not an isolated incident, it marked the second assault on the same facility in just 1 week. Underscoring vulnerabilities in Russia's air defense systems. The situation grew dire as the oil facility in Fyodosha wasn't merely a target, it served as a lifeline for the peninsula's economy, facilitating fuel transfers across various transport modes. The logistics of losing such a hub rippled outward, creating cascading effects on fuel supplies. Lines at gas stations grew long and chaotic as panic set in, uncertainty ruled the atmosphere, sowing seeds of doubt among the populace. The strike on power stations created an added layer of instability, causing power drops and frequent outages. Power shortages became the haunting song of the night, while the bureaucracy scrambled to mitigate further disruptions. With heavy machinery replacements taking months and maintenance slowed down by the chaos, the energy landscape of Crimea shifted dramatically, creating an atmosphere of dread. As if the night wasn't heavy enough, another fire erupted elsewhere, this time in the Odessa region, where Russian forces instigated destruction in civilian warehouses. Ukraine's electricity operator announced emergency measures in multiple regions, striking at the heart of industrial consumers. The duality of the offensive was evident. While cities like Kiev faced aerial assaults, the energy hubs in Crimea became prime targets for drone strikes. Rapid diplomatic movements ensued, as higher-ranking officials from the EU met to discuss military and energy sector security. They recognized the urgent need to address escalating tensions and ensure safety across the skies above Europe. The surface disruptions were transforming into serious impediments to military operations, weakening military readiness and response capabilities on both sides. The relentless pace of this intricate conflict revealed the undeniable intertwining of energy logistics and warfare. Each drone strike, each fire, and each tactical maneuver painted a broader picture, where every disruption intensified the struggle for control, not just over territories, but over survival itself. What lay ahead for Crimea and its inhabitants? Only time would tell as the air grew heavier with the scent of burnt oil and uncertainty loomed large. In the early hours of October 13, a striking event unfolded in Crimea, a moment that echoed with uncertainty and tension. A wave of drones surged through the dark skies, aiming for fuel and energy infrastructure across the peninsula. Just past midnight, explosions illuminated the night. Fires raged at key locations, disrupting not just supplies but the very rhythm of life in Crimea. As the sun rose, the devastation left behind was evident: charred earth, billowing smoke, and a stark silence in the air. What if this was just a glimpse of a greater upheaval? The Ukrainian offensive showcased a tactical brilliance that caught Russia off guard. Reports confirmed that several large oil tanks were on fire, becoming a focal point not only due to their strategic importance but also for the ripple effects they would create across supply chains. The oil terminal in Fyodossia plays a crucial role in the fuel supply network, linking rail deliveries to sea transport. With its ability to hold massive quantities of fuel, the implications of the attack were far-reaching. Operations halted, and a sense of dread filled the air. The question loomed, how would Crimea cope with such a blow? The chaos didn't end there. Power facilities, essential for maintaining the electrical grid, also took hits. Transformer stations, once deemed secure, experienced significant damage, resulting in a cascade of failures. The hum of once reliable energy sources fell silent, replaced by the reassurance of sirens and warnings. With the energy bridge to the Russian mainland destabilized, residents braced for the inevitable consequences. The Russian Defense Force claimed to intercept many UAVs, yet evidence on social media painted a contradictory picture, reinforcing the public's growing unease. Why weren't these threats neutralized, was the burning question that gripped the region. As critical infrastructure suffered damage, a sense of vulnerability began to creep in, manifesting in long lines at gas stations and limited fuel availability. Was this the beginning of an impending crisis? The echoes of the October 13 incident raised alarms across various sectors, beyond just the immediate geographic area affected. The impact rippled through marine insurance and freight rates, creating instability in shipping routes. If vulnerable terminals were targeted more than once, how could they protect against future strikes? The challenges faced by businesses became all too visible, and costs began to rise. What would this mean for the average citizen? The heat from the fires lingered as unwelcome reminders of the unfolding chaos. Panic mixed with resignation began to occupy minds, leaving behind only the faint scent of oil and ash. How much longer could the peninsula withstand the escalating pressures and uncertainties? This singular attack, while impactful on its own, hinted at a larger strategy at play. Indeed, as one battle subsided, the ground began to move underfoot, foreshadowing the tumultuous days ahead. The echoes of war, once distant, now resonated loudly within the confines of Crimea, urging inhabitants to brace for what was to come. On the night of October 13, a powerful wave of drones descended upon Crimea, delivering one of the most significant assaults in recent history. Just after midnight, the air crackled with tension as unmanned systems targeting fuel and power facilities ignited chaos across the peninsula. Several fuel depots were struck, bringing daily life in Crimea to a standstill, enveloping it in darkness. Explosions thundered at key transformer stations, causing a flickering halt in energy flow, previously deemed secure by Russian authorities. The skies overhead lit up with bright flashes, while on the ground, images flooded social media, rendering visible the fire that raged across the landscape. After hours of fierce battles with the flames, the grim aftermath revealed nothing but the charred remnants of what was once a vital source of energy. Inside sources claimed that Ukraine's systematic strategy aims to cripple Russia's military and economic resources, even infiltrating deep into territories under Moscow's control. They cited rapid advancement in their technical capabilities, hinting at ongoing operations that would relentlessly pressurize the opposing force. The impact of the attacks rippled through the region. As Ukrainian drones successfully struck key facilities, Russian claims of thwarting dozens of UAVs rang hollow, especially as visual evidence revealed the damage, proving that some attacks indeed found their marks. The oil terminal at Fyodossia, crucial for transferring fuel across various modes of transport, was once again targeted. This was now its second strike within a week. The strategic importance of Fyodossia extended beyond the flames. It harbored vital logistics for the peninsula's energy supply. The destruction of tanks there, capable of holding vast amounts of fuel, was not merely an isolated incident. It was a blow to Russia's capacity to sustain and supply its forces, both economically and militarily. Power struggles continued, with fluctuations in the energy grid manifesting in frequent outages and disruptions. The damage to critical infrastructure made it painfully clear, the stability that had been taken for granted was hanging by a thread. Complaints of sporadic electricity and darkness swept through Crimea, the frustrations echoing loudly in the night. Russia responded by touting the downing of numerous UAVs, yet the wreckage left in their wake told a different story. Social media revealed sights of smoke billowing from devastated installations, exposing a stark disconnect between official narratives and the reality unfolding on the ground. Each passing night, the same haunting question arose: why had defenses failed? With incidents of drone strikes now a familiar concern, uncertainty loomed. The ongoing cycle of targeted logistics and fuel infrastructure meant a constant re-evaluation of military strategies. As gas lines stretched longer, a sense of desperation among consumers burgeoned, the fear of running out of fuel became palpable. Amidst this backdrop, the geopolitical stakes rose higher. Concerns over energy security drew international attention, culminating in urgent discussions about defense strategies at every level of engagement. Each incident served as a stark reminder of the tenuous balance measured in energy resources, at the heart of the ongoing conflict. As night descended again on the beleaguered peninsula, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. The question of tomorrow loomed larger than ever before. Would the targets remain vulnerable? In a theater where both the tangible and intangible converge, the next act remained uncertain yet undeniable. Would the flickers of hope be enough to sustain the fight, or were they merely fleeting illusions in a landscape darkening by the hour? What emerges in this volatile setting is a battlefield shaped not only by physical attacks but also by perceptions and endurance. Every blow delivered on the peninsula resonates far beyond its borders, triggering tremors that could affect the entire region. The night unfolds yet again with one question hanging in the air: where is the next strike destined to land? The answer might just be cloaked in the shadows, daring those who venture to uncover the truth.